You're listening to the Business Marketing Show, episode number 57. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Hi, this is Keay-Smith from Online Impact, and I'm here with my co-host Brendan Tully from the Search Engine Shop, and we're going to be discussing keyword research today. How are you, Brendan?
Hi, Ed. How's it going?
Very good, thank you, mate. Very good indeed. You going well?
I'm well, thanks.
So, keyword research, something that people forget all about, but they have to do when they get started on a SEO campaign or a Adwords campaign.
Well, keywords and keyword research. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around keywords. I think you could probably say that. Or kind of people, a lot of business owners that I work with anyway, I don't know about you, but have kind of half the story or half the information. So I guess it's not surprising as there's a lot of stuff online and information around, generally accepted information that's now out of date. So I guess it would be good to talk about our approaches to keyword research and keywords and share some knowledge, I suppose.
Yes, because we have been looking at keywords and dealing with them for a long time. So we sort of just have it as second nature to what we're doing. Yeah. But a lot of people don't know where to begin. And it does all begin with the words that people type into the search engine box, whether that's on Google or wherever else they're searching. And that's how search engines work, based on keywords. It's not social media, different story. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we take for granted that things have changed, because I know we've definitely changed the way we do keyword research and keyword targeting for customers, and probably take for granted a bit the way we've reacted to some of the changes in the marketplace. But I guess should we go through our points one by one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of discuss the bits and pieces. So I guess the first one, I'll just go through top to bottom the list we have here. So what a lot of people don't know is that, particularly for even AdWords, well, SEO and AdWords, keywords and the search results, or keywords, and they rank differently for different devices, different locations, and in some cases for different people depending on their search history and Google settings. So I think one thing that I see around quite a lot recently are companies doing the "we guarantee you'll rank, don't pay until you rank" kind of nonsense. But if you dig into that fine print, it's, well, ranking for what keyword on what device and which location. Even between the search results on an iPhone are different to the search results on an Android phone. So a lot of people don't know that the search results are skewed like that.
True. And there's a lot of companies who are in the SEO game out there who can actually get you to rank for keyword terms that they put in front of the client as something that's important, but quite often they're not. And the volume of the search around those keyword terms, or what we would classify as long tail keyword terms, is not very high. So there's less competition and quite often easier to get ranked for that, as opposed to something that's really competitive. So
yeah. The search results do change. Quite often I get emails from customers we manage AdWords for, and they've been doing some searches and they can't see their AdWords ads, and they're all panicked. And my ads aren't working, but they've searched the same search term 10 times in a row. And of course, Google rotates the ads through, and if you don't click on an ad, it'll stop showing it for you. So, it's another example of search results that are actually different for different people as well. So that's something to keep in mind and very important to be aware of, because really, I guess, the being number one, I guess that leads us into the next point. Being number one or actually showing up the search results isn't the full picture. Like in the past, you could, be number one of Google, you'd get the clicks and you'd be almost guaranteed to get a call. But that doesn't really work like that today. So actually showing up is just part of the puzzle, actually attracting the click, because the search results look so different today and the layout's different on different devices. So just because you show up at the top doesn't mean you'll get a click, and just because you get a click doesn't mean people are going to pick up the phone and call you or buy or send an email or whatever. So
no, that's right. Often the first place they start is that first click, and they just often will click on it automatically without even sometimes reading what it is. That's been a lot of our experiences with the higher rankings, whether it's in SEO or AdWords, is it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to convert more. Quite often, in terms of AdWords, if we're sort of second or third, we get better conversions than if we're sitting at number one. So a bit strange, and it sort of seems opposite to what you would think, but that's quite often how it can be.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the end goal is to get the inquiry or call or email or whatever it is. It's not to be at the top of Google. So I think there's this blind quest to do everything and anything to be at the top of Google, and we'll ignore any other advice. Like a struggle that I have on an ongoing basis, and I don't know if you have it, but we have clients getting a lot of traffic. They have all the AdWords traffic there is, and they want to look at other keywords to rank for, whereas the better approach is actually to look at the website and see what we can improve, get more of those visitors to turn into customers. And the big one is always, they'll have stock photography on the website, and we've talked about this so much. But instead of focusing on more broader keywords, focus on the website and, things like we've talked about in other episodes, live chat and proper photos of your people and your products and your place of business and that sort of stuff. So I think if your strategy around online marketing and Google and everything else is, I want to be number one, I think you are potentially headed for some trouble.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the keywords have to be relevant to the content on your website and the pages you're sending them to. So it's no good ranking for a keyword term that is going to get you traffic, but is not necessarily relevant to a lot of the things you've got on your site. So you need to be able to match those keyword terms with the content or the products or the services that you're selling. It's no good getting traffic for a keyword term that is very loosely related to what you're doing, but you think it's going to get conversions just because there's a lot of people searching for it. Yeah, that just doesn't work. You'll get traffic, but they'll just go, oh, this is a waste of time, and they'll click the back button. Yeah.
So, I mean, the next point we have here is the search intent versus your website purpose, and we've talked about this before, but, and I think the example we used before was accommodation in the southwest of Western Australia. If you're, say if you're in Margaret River, the purpose of your website is to sell your accommodation in Margaret River, and it might be luxury accommodation. So someone searching Margaret River accommodation, they have the intent versus your purpose, it matches pretty well. But someone searching for, say, for example, pet-friendly accommodation in Margaret River, if you're not pet-friendly, then that search intent doesn't match your purpose. Or if someone's searching for southwest accommodation or accommodation in southwest of WA, they have very loose search intent, and that also doesn't match your purpose. So I think it doesn't, quality beats quantity, I think, is what's important there. You think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's no good for trying to rank. If you're a company that sells shoes online, just trying to rank for a keyword term like shoes, which is extremely broad, could be a massive waste of energy and time, particularly if you're paying for advertising. I mean, if you end up fortunately getting a ranking for shoes and you're high up in organic search, well, that's not such an issue, but especially when you're paying for the traffic, you certainly want to get as much as you can from each keyword term. Yeah. So just targeting shoes would be a waste of time. You want to be very specific, like a model of shoe or a brand of shoe, like a Nike, whatever the type of shoe is, Yep. So that's something you would have as a keyword term that you're trying to attract traffic for, because it's very specific and it matches the product that you have in stock. So it's logical. Keyword research is really very logical when you break it down. Just for some reason, people, they do tend to just go for volume rather than focus. So it needs to be the other way around. You've got to focus and not worry so much about the volume. You could have a lot of what we call long tail keyword terms that consist of 3 or 4 or 5 keyword terms in a phrase. If you have multiples of those that are relevant, the volume will soon build up. So you don't have to try and go for a very broad phrase like shoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the problem is there's a lot of too good to be true stuff out there as well. And we see it in the workshops, people with the, if I do this to my website, I'll be number one on Google. Whereas, that stuff, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Like if you take away all the nonsense and all that stuff you hear and just think about it logically, it's pretty easy to work out. You just got to take away the noise and use some common sense, I think.
Yes, common sense, unfortunately, though, is not common practice, as we say. Oh, lordy. Okay, so what's next, my friend?
Keyword research tools.
Okay, well, the most common and easiest accessible one is the Google Keyword Planner.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you've got a Google AdWords account already, you can just access that within the tools at the top of the page, and that allows you to actually input the keyword term. You can also be specific about the area or the geographical area that you want to pull the data from. So if your target market, say for example, just in Sydney or in Perth or wherever it is, you can put that in rather than just going for the country, and that will break things down. So that's a good tool to start using, and you can manipulate it in many other ways, and that's completely free to use. Now the data is very, it's not exact. Google gives you sort of approximate numbers per month what the searches are, but it's a good guideline. I mean, you're going to know whether a keyword term is getting roughly 10 clicks a month or 10,000, so at least that'll give you some idea of what the search volume is.
Mm-hmm. So just to be clear, what is a keyword research tool, Ed?
Well, what is a keyword research tool, or what is that particular one?
What is broadly defined, what does it allow you to do?
It allows you to input the keyword terms you want to target to then assess the volume of keyword searches per month, and then work out whether there's a lot of competition for that keyword term or a little, and then you can determine whether you're going to use that particular keyword term in your marketing or in your ads or target it for SEO.
Mm-hmm.
What's your definition?
Well, pretty much along the lines there. Unfortunately, when we first started doing workshops, you could get all this raw data that was exactly accurate. So you could, if you were a dentist in Perth, you could type in dentist Perth and see exactly how many searches there were on average each month for that term. And you could actually, in Google Analytics, you could see exactly how many people were coming to your website from that term. And then you could search other things like cosmetic dentistry, teeth whitening and all this, and basically get exactly an exact picture of what the demand looks like in the search engines, and when that would allow you to target specific services that would be easy to sell online. But unfortunately now, that was like, I guess when we started 2011 2012, all that data was available. It's this raw data that was very high quality, but Google have made a lot of steps. You can't get that to kind of blur the data, and even the keyword planner used to be called the keyword research tool, and even the data in that is pretty weak compared to how it used to be, or I guess the accurateness, how precise the data is. And you can't see that keyword data at all anymore in Google Analytics. So you can only see someone came from the Google search results. In 99% of cases, you won't see what keyword they used, but you can see what page they landed on, which is somewhat useful, but not like it was in the past, unfortunately. But they're still pretty powerful.
Theory.
Really? Tell me the theory.
Well, the conspiracy, I don't think it's a theory. I personally think, the reason that Google are doing that in terms of that, and we're only talking about the organic search results there. We're not talking about your AdWords campaign. You're seeing the keyword terms that are getting results for that. So why can they show it with their paid system but not with their organic one? And they're using a privacy, search reason protection of data or whatever for not showing in the organic. But what's different about the paid one? I don't understand myself why the two are different. I think it's really a push to get more and more people onto the paid advertising side of things, as opposed to going after the organic, because they don't make any money in the organic listings. That's zero income for them.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I agree. I don't think Google makes any change that doesn't benefit them somehow. Even if they get a 0.01% improvement in the AdWords revenue, that's still 0.01% improvement on billions of dollars. So
got to keep those shareholders happy.
Yeah, that's a subtle little change makes a big difference. In terms of keyword research, one other thing we do a lot, particularly for more traditional businesses where it's very cut and dry what people are going to be searching. So let's use the dentist example again. Instead of we can use the keyword planner and work out roughly how much budget they'll need a month. So we'll look at the data and say they need $2,000 a month to capture all a dentist in Perth needs $2,000 a month to capture all the searches for dentist Perth. It's definitely more than that, but say that for example, and then we'll run that search for the month, the 30 days, and then because AdWords is one of the only places we can get keyword data now that's really precise, then we'll actually use that AdWords data to feed back in and tweak our keyword targeting accordingly. So in a sense, using an AdWords campaign on with a trial budget on a short-term basis, a month or 3 months, is one of the best keyword research tools. And also because keyword research tools are still historical data based on averages, it's never going to be as precise as an AdWords campaign that is real data for that particular location and for your particular business and that particular time period. So that's one other way to do it as well.
Yeah, true. I've got the keyword planner tool open now, and I just put in Dentist Perth as an example, and it's they give you rounded off numbers, like they don't give you very specific quantities. They round it off from the nearest 10, I think. And Dentist Perth is that particular search terms about 1,000 searches a month. So average suggested cost per click, $26 a click.
Wow, that's gone up quite a bit. Yeah, we have a few clients who are advertising for that term, and when we first started 4 or 5 years ago, it started at $4 or $5, and I know 12 months ago I had a discussion with one client that it was sitting around the $15 mark, and we had to make the decision because I think the bid we had set was $11, and it was kind of a big discussion to go from $11 to $15, because if you think about it, that's a 30% increase in what you're spending roughly, a little bit more. So that just kind of indicates how much this stuff is jumping up, and it's also how valuable it is. So
yeah, well, it comes down to it in terms of keyword terms. It's governed by the marketplace. So these prices, as far as we all know, are not influenced or set by Google. I might be wrong about that, but only Google would know. But it's really driven by the marketplace. So ultimately, for example, if the keyword term Dentist Perth was only going to produce, $20 income from that conversion, then no one's going to be spending $26 a click on it, because they're going to lose money instantly. Even if they were converting 100% of their visitors, they're still not going to make any money. So really, it comes down to common sense a lot of the time. So I think it has to reach a limit where people are prepared. That's the most they're going to pay.
Yeah, it will reach an equilibrium. I think also, and I think we briefly touched on this in the episode we had with Lisa Reed, who's a business consultant, about a lot of business owners don't know their numbers. So, for example, in your example there, you have a customer who buys something that costs $20. That doesn't take into account the lifetime value of that customer. So if the lifetime value of that customer is $500, then it's worth losing money on that first transaction if that's what the average lifetime value is. So I think it's very important that your cost and profit per sale on average, particularly of certain items, but also the lifetime value of customers. So I know I would rather, like in our business, we've changed the way we do things a little bit to focus more on, instead of looking at that initial sale, we look at the broader lifetime value of the customer. And that means we can afford to spend more than competitors on marketing, because if we look after the customers and keep them for 3 to 5 years, then, they're worth more to us than, another business who treats them like crap and they've lost the customer after a year. So we can afford to outspend that competitor and get a better share of the customers. So I think that's an important number to be aware of. And also kind of highlights that you need to be focused on not just new customer acquisition strategies, but also customer retention strategies. So if you can keep a customer, it's a lot cheaper to keep a customer than it is to acquire new ones. So
definitely,
something like we've talked before about email marketing is one of the cheapest ways to keep customers and keep in touch with them. So I think that it needs to be a part of your marketing strategy as well. And for a lot of businesses, that's one of the first things we suggest, particularly e-commerce businesses, because, it's an easy win. They have a list of customers, their client details, what they've bought, and it's very easy to plug that data into something like MailChimp and send some broadcast emails to get them back.
Yeah, very true. And look, most people I think who use this tool aren't factoring any of that stuff in at all. They're only looking at the keyword term and the search volume and not factoring anything else in. And it's quite a bit, it's a big job. If you've got lots of products and lots, and variations of services, then you potentially could have thousands or tens of thousands of keyword terms. So that can be quite a lot to manage in terms of working out the conversions, etc. So we've produced a keyword or value per visitor calculator tool probably at least, 10 years ago that we give to people. So if anyone wants a copy of that, they can just send us a message in the show notes and I'm happy to send them a copy of that. And that helps them actually calculate whether a particular keyword term is going to be viable based on what they're selling and what it's going to cost to get the traffic and the conversion on their website. So if you can at least do some sort of forward planning with your keywords and have an idea of how it's actually going to play out, then you'll know whether it's worth spending the $20 a click or the $5 a click, whatever it is, to get the traffic in the first place.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, we also have clients who, in the oil and gas industry, they might spend a few $100s a month on the ad campaign and they get a whole bunch of clicks. Not many, but they get some clicks, and maybe one of those clicks will convert. But one of those jobs is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it really is about knowing the numbers and making sure they stack up.
Yeah, look, it certainly is easier for businesses that have a high ticket item. They're selling high profit point as well, because that is not such a stress on the conversion side of things. Obviously, it's always better, the higher your conversions you're getting, the better. But if they're selling low price point products that are very, what's the word? Trying to think of the word, Brendan.
Consumer goods?
Consumer goods, yeah.
Consumer goods?
Yeah, that type of product. That's just a consumable product. That's it, So they, easy for other people just to compare what they're selling, and they go to the cheapest one. That's a harder gig to deal with in terms of keyword terms.
Yeah.
So if you've got a service that's based on a higher price point, I think you've got a better chance with AdWords compared to something else. So.
Yeah. For us, like with businesses that are specialty or there's only a few or they're in a remote area, regional area, those are generally better candidates for AdWords at that small business level. So
True.
Cool.
So what else have we got on the list?
Okay, I'm getting this more and more, obviously, because more small business owners are doing stuff online and the attention's moved completely online, but keyword-rich domain names don't work like they used to, so I get at least a few times a month calls. Hey, someone offered me this domain name it's okay. It's nothing fancy, and should I buy it? He wants $1,000 for it or whatever it is. And my answer is generally, well, one, if we want to rank for that term, why don't you talk to me? We can run some ads and we can do some SEO. And the second is that keyword-rich domain names don't work like they used to. In that sense, in the past, you could have 20 different domain names, different keywords, and you'd be able to, that would be an advantage, a traffic advantage, but it doesn't work like that. Well, in the SEO space anyway, because things have changed. It does, it's a bit different in the AdWords space, but we've talked about this on the domain names episode, that you really can only use one of those keyword-rich domain names, and that's it. So one, if it's the primary domain name, then it's going to give you some advantage from a ranking perspective. If not, unless it's like a very generic term like cars.com.au or something like that, then you're not really going to get much benefit after you have used kind of the first slot.
Yeah, I mean, all things being equal, any site can rank well regardless of whether it's keyword-rich or not, if it's dealt with appropriately. I think the thing that I keep coming back to with domains in terms of a marketing perspective and not anything to do with SEO is that if you've got a keyword-rich domain that's short and memorable, that makes it easier in terms of general marketing and people remembering to go back to your site again and having those people come back from their first experience of going to your site. And it also, and we've tested this many times in the past, in terms of AdWords, as you mentioned before, you do have some advantage we've found with a generic keyword term that's displayed in the ads. So people, if they're searching on Perth Dentist and they see perthdentist.com.au, then that's resonating with what they've just typed in. So there is some extra leverage with having that. But in terms of SEO, I agree, no, that there's no distinct advantage with having a keyword-rich domain.
After the first domain. So
yeah.
If we're building a brand new site for a client that they haven't had a site before, the old site hasn't really ranked, what we'll often do is say, hey, this is the term you want to rank for. The domain's actually available. Say, let's go back to our dentist example, Dentist Perth. So we use the Dentist Perth as the primary domain name, and then we'll use the brand name, Perth Dental Centre, for example, as the secondary domain name. So on all the print material and stuff like business cards, brochures, whatever, they use the Perth Dental Centre, and then that just redirects through seamlessly. And Google sees the Dentist Perth domain name, so they get kind of the double benefit. They use the pretty one for the branding that matches the brand, and then on the internet, Google sees the keyword-rich one, so they rank higher for that, and it's better for AdWords as well. Yeah,
yes. I mean, everything has to be assessed on a base-by-base, situation, because the keyword term, quite often with a lot of businesses out there, their business name is the same. Like if you've got a really good generic keyword term, companies will actually call themselves the actual domain name, and that's very common with high quality domains, because they're building in that whole brand and memorability all into the same thing. So So if you had a really good domain name, that's probably the one to go with, rather than something you've made up that's harder to remember. But that's why you've got to look at everything individually.
Yep.
And assess it.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is rule applies. So, these random calls you're getting out of the blue, people trying to sell your domain for thousands, probably too good to be true in most cases. I think from the stuff that's filtering through to me, there's still opportunities out there, but I don't think that a lot of this stuff is overpriced for the benefit, and it actually takes a lot of technical expertise to implement these things properly in the first place. So even if there is a benefit, don't just assume that your web developer knows what to do with that keyword-rich domain name or set it up in a way, because it can be quite technical to set up, to do it properly, to set it up in a way that is going to give you that benefit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get them all the time because I own a lot of domains. I'm always getting emails in from someone trying to sell me a domain that's similar to one I have, and often it'll be a .info, and this, great opportunity, get this .info domain that's the same as the one you've got, and going, no.
Yeah. Or a plural that just doesn't make sense. Like it's the plural nobody would ever use. So
that's right. Yeah. So it's buyer beware. Do your research.
Yeah.
So next on the list for keyword research.
This is a funny one. And speaking of magic bullets, this is, and I think it's hilarious that we both get these calls where, I have this opportunity, someone's selling me this domain name, should I buy it? And then there are other actually easy wins that are, they require maybe a little bit of work, but they actually do work and nobody does them. Like we've talked about, photography is one of those, but you got to, particularly more today than ever, you can't rank for a search term if you don't have a page of content for it. So simply by adding that page of content, you'll actually rank for it and you'll get traffic for it. So going back to our dentist example, if you have a dentist that wants to rank for teeth whitening, wants to rank for cosmetic dentistry, say wants to rank for dental implants, without an individual page about those three different services, and by a page we mean a good quality page of content, it's 3 or 4 paragraphs long minimum with a few pictures or a video. Without those pages of content, it is very, very hard to rank. So the flip side of that is just by having the pages of content, it's you will get some traffic. And then also in the AdWords world, you shouldn't really be sending traffic to your website for a particular keyword if you don't have a page about that keyword. So
exactly, quality score comes into play.
Yep. So yeah,
look, here's the thing, right? This is the thing that I get constantly amazed at is with the technology of websites that we have today that is so simple in terms of something like WordPress as a content management system. Other than actually creating the content, now for some people that can be a bit of a challenge, but once you've got the content, putting the page up is a 5-minute job. It's not rocket science to put a fresh page of content up. So, if you know the specific things you want to target after you've done your keyword research, and you then all you need to do is produce that page of content. And as you just said, you've increased the chances of actually getting some type of ranking than having nothing at all, or trying to do everything off your homepage, which I see a lot of people stuff 10 different subjects all on their homepage thinking that's going to get them some sort of good ranking in Google.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the homepage doesn't count anymore. So even though, so it's quite complicated, the Google algorithm has changed quite a bit. So we never really try and rank the homepage anymore. So the homepage is really about the brand name and the business name. And then, if we want to rank for Dentist Perth, we'll make the About Us page, or the generic services page that's the page that we want to rank for the Dentist Perth, and we want to rank the homepage for the business name itself. So even though if I type in cosmetic Dentist Perth, the homepage might show up at the top of the search results, that's because we have a page about cosmetic dentistry. So just because a page shows doesn't mean it's that page that's causing the rank. It could be something else within the websites that's doing it. Like, the algorithm is very complicated, and there's definitely a correlation versus causation thing in effect there as well, that there's 200 plus ranking factors, and just because something correlates, like the keyword rich domain name we've talked about so many times, just because something ranks high and has a keyword rich domain name doesn't mean it's because of that keyword rich domain name. So.
No, absolutely not. And that's they can be completely separate. So
yeah.
Okay, what else have we got? I've lost my spot on the list.
Well, I guess that's the last one, and you talk a lot in the workshops as well about sending the AdWords traffic to the homepage. That's one of the classic mistakes.
Not to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, picking up we do it as well. We get an AdWords account that someone else has been managing for years, and all the traffic is going to the homepage for every single search term. Now, in some cases, it makes sense to send the traffic to the homepage, but if someone is typing in teeth whitening and you're sending them to the generic homepage instead of the teeth whitening page, then that's a pretty loose match, and it's not going to perform as well as if you sent them directly to the teeth whitening page.
That's it. And it's an extra click that someone has to make to get to the page, and they potentially may not find the page. So just send them to the page. They've told you what they want. That's the thing with the keyword research. By the traffic that you're targeting, what they want based on what they're searching on, pretty much. I mean, unless it's very, very generic like dentist, then that's not specific as teeth whitening. But, teeth whitening or dental implants, as we're talking about, that's very specific, so that what they're wanting by their actions of search. So just send them through to the page. Makes it a lot easier for everything.
Yeah. So, anything else to add? That's our list. I mean, for me, the biggest one I see time and time again, and the biggest opportunity for improvement is, the way we approach it with clients now, to kind of explain it, because a lot of clients come to us and they want to rank for a keyword, and we'll say, well, let's switch it around and do it the other way. Let's list out all the services. They want to rank for a keyword because they think it will sell a service or a product. So the approach that we take, and I will get clients to do this brainstorming activity, is step one, spend 10 minutes, get a piece of paper and write down all the products and services you want. Step two, go and rank those products and services in terms of the most profitable or the ones you want to sell in priority order.
Yep.
And then step three is, do we have a page of content for each of those products and services, particularly like the top 3 or 5 that you want to sell the most? And then step 4 is, let's look at some keywords around those and some targeting. So, I mean, it's the approach to making keywords work is almost exactly the opposite to how most business owners are doing it these days. So I think if you did that simple exercise, you would be able to DIY a lot more. And, it's pretty easy to add a page of content to your website and write that out.
Yeah, that's very good. Maybe you could put that in the show notes, Brendan.
Sure. Maybe I can make a tool, Ed.
Maybe, people say I'm a tool, but I think they're referring to something else.
You have a magic keyword tool. I want one too.
Yeah, okay, you make one up, Brendan.
Well, I do actually have a spreadsheet that it's like, here's the 4 columns, it's pretty easy. So
get it made, son, get it made.
Well, I will make it available for public use. How about that? Because
that sounds good.
The other part of that is, there also might be some common questions that customers have about particular services, like some of those things like dental implants and teeth whitening. There's going to be a lot of questions around that. If the questions are important enough and common enough, then it might make sense to have some blog articles with those questions as well. Like, Like a common one, how many treatments of teeth whitening do I have to have white teeth? It might make sense to have that as a separate blog article, and then you might actually rank for that search term as well. So if the search terms are different enough from each other, then it makes sense to have a page of content about that as well.
It does indeed. Very, very true. Good plan. All right, I think we're done.
Cool.
It's a big subject. We haven't gone into minute detail on everything, but that's a good starting point for people who have really skipped over this the subject of keyword research. They've got some places to start and getting their research done. Yeah. And typically we find that a lot of people who skip this end up paying for it in the end. And they'll have to go back to doing this. Yeah. So don't leave it till you've gone down the path of spending lots of money on incorrect keyword terms and not getting any return. Do this first, get it in line, get it sorted, and then everything else should make more sense as you go through the process of doing SEO and AdWords.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the foundational components that, because there's so many misconceptions, I think allows people to spend money and not get a result, or not necessarily choose the best service provider either. So,
yeah, true.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, buddy. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you soon. You've been listening to The Business Marketing Show. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher.